Jill Evans, Plaid Cymru MEP. How does the situation differ for mountain rescue teams compared to other emergency services?
Well, the RNLI, for example, the lifeboats, they are exempt from paying VAT at all. And that's how it should be. A lot of them are volunteers. They do a fantastic job. It not only, of course, protects life, but it helps the economy. It helps in all kinds of ways. And that should be extended to all rescue services. We know in Wales we have about 15 different groups that work in the mountains and with cave rescues and so on, doing a tremendous job, irreplaceable work. They are all volunteers, and it's wrong that they should have to pay VAT on the equipment they use, for example. So I support the campaign to exempt all of these rescue groups from having to pay VAT, and the Commission is asking at the moment what should be changed in terms of the VAT directive, and that's one of the things I believe we should change.
And for those that don't know how it works, why is this a European issue? Why is the EU involved with this? And why is it not the fact that these groups can go to the government and say we'd like zero rate tax?
Well, they did go to the government, of course, the UK government, and the UK government does give a contribution now to help cover the costs of the VAT that they pay, but the UK government can't say that they don't have to pay VAT. It's only the European Union that can allow groups to be exempt, not to have to pay VAT at all. And so even though the UK government has helped in some ways, it's really at the European level that I would like to see a clause in the new directive saying that these groups, these rescue groups, should not have to pay any kind of tax on their equipment, which is a substantial cost for them every year.
How likely do you think it is that you could convince the tax commissioner here in Europe to change his mind, to include mountain rescue on the list, given that presumably he gets lots of requests for things to become tax-free?
I think, well, firstly, if there's enough support, of course, from people. We are at a time when Europe has not only been through an economic crisis, but a crisis of confidence in the EU as well. And I think a lot of people in Wales would be quite shocked to know that mountain rescue teams, for example, had to pay VAT on the equipment that they use. I think that people would take it for granted that groups like that would not pay tax. They depend very often on voluntary contributions from the public. I don't think the public would be too happy to know that they were having to pay tax on that as well. So I do think there's a very strong case. We need a lot of support, but we have an extremely convincing argument, which I believe the Commission should take on board, and I think it's the way forward for us. Of course, I've supported other campaigns to reduce VAT or to exempt VAT, but this, I think, is such a strong case. These teams do such a fantastic job, and we all, whether we've been in those situations or not, we all appreciate the work that they do, and I think it's a very small gesture on a European level that would make a big difference to those volunteers who give up their time and their money and risk their own lives too to help others.
You mentioned that public support would help in this. I understand today a petition was handed in to the tax commissioner with about 2,000 signatures from people in the UK on this very issue. Do you think that it would help if people continue to sign up to this campaign? How does public pressure help in campaigns like this in Europe?
Yes, definitely. There's nothing as valuable in strengthening a case than constituents actually contacting either members of Parliament or the Commission to express how strongly they feel about it. So yes, it's crucial that as many people as possible do sign up, and the more that do, the stronger the case is.
And to sum up really, presumably this tax bill for these groups runs into kind of thousands of pounds. So what kind of difference do you think it could make for their work if you can convince the EU to change on this?
Well, when the Scottish Government were looking at this, they found that it was actually 150 to £200,000 a year. It was a great deal of money, a great deal of difference. And of course that would make their work that much more effective and valuable. They could provide a better service and everyone would benefit. It's not just those of us who live in the area, it helps with the tourism industry, it helps with the local communities, income for the local communities, as well as saving lives. It's something that we would all benefit from, and it's something too that I hope that the Welsh Government will support, and I'll be approaching them and asking them to give their backing to this campaign.